The Diary of a Harlequin is proudly brought to you by Stanley Wealth Managers, official player welfare partner of Harlequins. If you're looking to start your investment journey, then Stanley has lots of tips and ideas on how to secure your financial future. Welcome to the Diary of a Harlequin. I'm your host, Joe Yates-Round, and today we're speaking to Harlequins forward Shaunagh Brown. It might be easier to list the jobs that Shaunagh hasn't done in her career so far. Professional boxer, Commonwealth Games hammer thrower, British gas engineer, commercial diver, firefighter, and rugby player. Named one of the Evening Standard's most influential Londoners in 2019, Shaunagh is quite simply a force to be reckoned with. First picking up a rugby ball when she was 25, she currently has 4 Grand Slams with England and a Premier 15's title with Quins to her name. Welcome to the Diary of a Harlequin, Shaunagh Brown.
Hello.
Thank you for coming and speaking to us. So I said in the introduction, the long list of careers that you have had. I don't know really where to start. So let's start before you were in anything, when you were just Shaunagh at school. Like, rugby obviously didn't really feature for you growing up. Like, what was the fire in your belly? Like, what gave you the motivation? What did excite you when you were like 7, 8 years old?
I really enjoy that question because even how you say before I wasn't anything, but in my head, even as a youngster, like I was something and I was something special. And I think it's mainly because that's what I was told by my mum a lot. Yeah. So I'd get, because I was the only girl in the cage playing football, only girl out playing on the monkey bars or playing out, all my friends were boys. Yeah. And it would always, I'd get teased for being the only girl and like be called a she-hulk and a she-man and a she-he. And then people would say like, you're a boy or a girl, and say, oh, you want to be a boy and you want to be trans and all of this. And I'm only like 8, 9.
Wow. That's a lot for like an 8-year-old to kind of be getting.
Yeah. And that's essentially like the block of my childhood. I remember those comments constantly, even throughout secondary school. Yeah. But what kept me going and just let me continue to do what I do and not sort of just go into a ball is I'd come home and I'd say to mum, like genuinely confused, like, why are they saying that? And she would just say, it's because you're special. It's because they're jealous, because you're better than them at football, because you're faster than them in a race. And Boffin knows to get that because I was quite good at school, quite intelligent. Yeah. And it's just, they're just jealous of you, Shaunagh, and they want to be like you. And even things like in a supermarket, I'd always feel like security guards would follow me around, and mum's white. So sometimes it was just like, I reckon they thought like, who's this little mixed race kid with this white mum? Because some people don't compute the fact that I'm mixed race and I've got a white mum. Right. So I'd say like, mum, why is that security guard following us around? And she'd just say, it's just because you're special. So I had that ingrained in me from a youngster that I was always gonna be someone, and I was always going to grow into something special. And I didn't necessarily know it wasn't. I certainly, as you alluded to, didn't know it was going to be anything to do with rugby, and not necessarily even anything to do with sport. But I knew I always knew I was different to the crowd that I was born in, and to the world and society and culture I was born into. But I always felt empowered by that.
Yeah, how liberating as well to have like your mum just saying you're special. So you sort of like, oh, that's like a license to just be completely different and not worry about someone saying something, because you hear that and then you take that inside. Did it feel like a bit of a superpower almost to be like, wow, great, I'm special, so no pressure?
Yeah, it was that, it all makes sense now. And then I'd do something else and someone would make another comment and I'd go, I've just beaten him in a race. Obviously, he's going to call me a man now because I've just beaten him. So it's just like, it just all computed together. And I remember I used to go to after school clubs with my teachers, and sometimes we was a little running club and it was actually only me and the teacher sometimes. Yeah. And so people take the mick out of that. But then they would like be unfit when we're playing football. I'm the one that's still running around. They're the ones who was tired. And it's just like, it all makes sense now. So come on board as a superpower and as a reason to keep going. And I say that it wasn't like so I'm very much a passionate and potentially say activist, but like I'm very intentional with what I say and what I do, and empowering others to be more, be better, and be themselves. When actually at that age, I was just doing it because that was what I did. It wasn't with an emphasis on other people being better and empowering other people and being my authentic self and all the taglines that you get now. Actually, I was just being Shaunagh, and I wanted to go to after school club, so I did. And I wanted to play football with all the boys, so I did. I wanted to wear my hair in plaits that sometimes I looked like a boy, so I did. I didn't want to wear skirts and dresses, So I didn't. I always wanted to wear trainers, so I did. Like it was just, and looking back, and it's certainly 100% the person who I am today is because of the person I was allowed to be growing up. But yeah, the difference is it was never intentional as a youngster. It was just me being allowed to be the person I wanted and needed to be to grow into the woman I am today.
And I think that's interesting. You say it wasn't intentional. It wasn't like you weren't doing it to prove a point or for a purpose other than it was just you. And I think, I don't know, I wonder, like with the rise of social media, like you're born in 1990, so kind of we're both in that sort of generation that didn't have social media growing up, but now do have it. And you look at that next generation, there's a lot of pressure to live your authentic life and be your true self and all that sort of nonsense when, as you say, you're just, well, I wanted to play football, so I did. Or I wanted to wear my hair in a certain way, so I did. I wasn't doing it to show off or make a point or for it to be about something. Do you think that makes it, I don't know, more impactful now when you do choose to speak out, or you do choose to put yourself in those positions, that you're doing it not for trying to prove people wrong? You're like, I'm here because of all of that, not in spite of it.
Yeah, I find it easy to do. So like if I'm doing an appearance on behalf of a brand or on behalf of an organization who potentially represents what I stand for, like I will only work with people who stand for what I stand for. And so sometimes like maybe there's a script for a bit of filming and it's like, can you say this line? And I will categorically outright, if I don't agree, if it's not something I'll just say, no, I can't. And a lot of people are like, well, don't know what to do next. Nobody ever tells us no. And I go, well, here we are, so let's fix it. And then of course, giving them an alternative. But yeah, I find it now as a 33-year-old woman, I do find it easy to be myself. Part of that is going through the struggle in the middle. So as a youngster, I found it easy because that was all I knew. Mum let me wear trainers. She let me wear tracksuit all the time. And it was never a fight with, oh, Shaunagh, you need to wear a dress because we're going to a party. Or, oh, Shaunagh, why don't you brush your hair? Like I never had that fight as a youngster. So then there's that easy bit at the beginning. And then the middle bit is the tough bit. As you grow older, as you have external influences, and right now that would be social media if I was growing up in this era, but actually it was just other people. It was people at school, it was the kids, it was the teachers, it was youth workers, it was just other people not in my family and who didn't necessarily understand me. And even like coming into rugby and sport, and it's other athletes, other rugby players, and they're not used to me in terms of, sometimes I'd happily describe myself as a bit odd, a bit strange, but in a way it's just because I am the unknown, and understanding now that human nature, like you're scared of what you don't understand, and a lot of people have never and will never understand me, and so they're scared of me, and then that they project that onto me almost in a negative way. And like I say, now, like I understand the psychology around it, and the way someone acts towards me, I know it's generally a projection of how they feel about themselves and about me. And so depending what mood I'm in that day, I can just cut it off and take no nonsense from it. But that middle bit in learning that, it's the like thinking, oh, I really want to wear this outfit to school or to athletics or to rugby, but I don't know how it's going to go down. And considering other people in my thought process of how I want to dress, how I want to do my hair, what I want to say, or what music I want to listen to. And that process of considering others, which, like I say, in the beginning, I didn't do. And now I pretty much don't do either. There's just the emotional intelligence and, reading the room. But in terms of me, what I want to do, that middle bit is hard. And it is, you do get teased and you do get questioned constantly. And it is like, oh, why have you, like even odd socks, people have an issue with odd socks. And I'm like, why do you have an issue with my odd socks? Or another one that gets, and it still gets me now, is wearing navy and black. So apparently it's not a thing. Like, you're not supposed to do that. I didn't know that because I didn't grow up in that world. So I'd do that and then people would point it out. And so then I stopped doing it. And then I got a bit older. I thought, what are you doing? You're going to training. It's not a fashion show. Your base layer is navy blue and you need to be warm, and your tracksuit are black. Just wear it. And then I come out the other side, complete flip end. And I'll wear things on purpose to make people go, what are you wearing? And actually people then get used to me not conforming and get used to me not looking like everybody else. And they stop commenting. And that's when you're through to the other end and you're like, yeah, okay, cool, I'm here now. And actually, sometimes in a slightly mischievous mood, I'll do something on purpose to be a bit more outrageous, because I'm like, well, why has nobody commented on my outfit today? Why has nobody commented on my hair? I need to do something a bit more funky to get that attention again.
To test that. Well, we'll come on to the need for attention. That's a separate psychological analysis piece. But I think it's really fascinating listening to you speak that you had that, I guess, that innate confidence from a really early age, and sort of confidence like lowercase c, in terms of like you just were living who you were, but then societal pressure starts to get in and you start you're still the same on the inside, but you're thinking, oh, do I need to modify this so that this person doesn't react in this way? Or you start putting or trying to take responsibility for other people's reactions to you, which is exhausting. But without that, you then don't get the emotional intelligence to kind of know that that's what you're doing. Were there any specific examples, I guess in that tricky middle period, as you called it, where you had those moments of like, aside from the navy and black thing, which I'm sort of now second guessing my outfit because I think I'm in navy and black today. You're so, navy and black. I'm an individual. It clashes, so now I'm going to overthink that for the whole rest of my drive home. But were there any examples or moments where you went, oh, what am I doing? Why am I modifying my behaviour to accommodate you, and actually I just want to be me?
Yeah, a lot of it was and I'd call it like a cultural clash or experience, culture shock actually coming into rugby. So I'd grown up in athletics. I'd grown up in South London, primary school and secondary school. Everyone's mixed. Everyone's different skin colours. Everyone's different types of families. Some people have got one mum, no mum, dad, two dads. Yeah. Some people got sisters, brothers. Some people got no one. Some people adopted. Some people fostered. Yeah. Like there's just a mixture. Some people living in houses, flats. Like there's a mixture of people. And even always going into both of my schools, there was different languages everywhere, like on the walls, and we'd celebrate different people. Like it was welcome in 25 different languages. And I just always remember that. And then going into athletics, it's similar in terms of the sport, because it's such a wide breadth of sport. You do naturally get loads of different types of people into it. And so being around different people was something that I was used to. And then I came into rugby and I was just like, why is everybody pretending they're the same? Because they're not, but they're not the same. I know they're categorically pretending to be the same. And I thought, and I did like, the term fitting in, I did try and fit in. Yeah. And now, like, I hate that term. I'm not trying to fit in. Like, I will use, again, my emotional intelligence to find my space as such within this room. Yeah. But I'm not going to fit into the shape that you leave for me. If that shape in that room doesn't fit me, I'm making a different shape. So I don't know where that analogy's come. I just made that up.
I liked it. I was with it. I was like, oh yeah, the shape you've left me is. I was like, yeah, this is great stuff. It doesn't
fit. Yeah. So I was just gonna take a hammer and make a bigger hole for me.
Was this like when you first then came into that rugby environment? Was there something that you, like, looking back, that you went, oh, I wish I'd never done that to try and fit in?
Do you know, honestly, I think it was a lot to do with the alcohol drinking, because really? I hate that about rugby. I hate how entrenched alcohol is in the system. And even watching like youngsters now like down in pints of squash, and yes, it's only squash, but it's almost like leading up to being able to down pints. And I'm not a big drinker, and people sometimes get on a high horse about religion, and I just don't like drinking a lot. I'd just rather eat my calories than drink them. It's literally as simple as that. And it gives me a big belly, and I don't like having a big belly, so I'm not a big drinker.
I'd rather eat my calories than drink them. I'm getting that put on a t-shirt. Yeah,
I would. And so it's just like you'd get player of the match, or I'd get player of the match or forward of the match, and I'd dread it. And I'd be like, how is this a reward? You'd have to go up in front of everyone else and down your pint in a boat race. And then I couldn't down pints and I'm okay with not being able to down them. Yeah. And so I'd always be last, and I'd feel horrible about myself. And then they'd sing the horrible song at you, and I'm just like, oh, I don't want to be here. So I did get to a stage where I just refused. Yeah. And once you refuse 2 or 3 times, they no longer bother you. So a lot of it within rugby was that bit of alcohol. And then there's a music in the changing rooms and in the gym or whatever, and it's, understand, we play rugby, there's loads of different people, loads of different music types, but there's only like so much Disney I can listen to in a gym. Like I'm trying to go heavy here. I can't do The Greatest Showman again. Like I wouldn't watch it. Maybe if my life depended on it, I'd watch it, but it's just not a bit of me.
Yeah.
But like I've got time for a bit of Lion King, a bit of Moana, but sometimes.
But in small doses, right?
You're not doses. the songs that you can just sing word for word because I grew up with them. But yeah, so I just have to put my foot down. And I just go, I can't do it anymore. I need to put something, a bit of Burna Boy, a bit of Wizkid, a bit of Davido. I need something different. And actually, then it would go on. And the worst feeling was when somebody else out loud. So that Disney stuff, again, I acknowledge that some people like it, they need it. So I don't need to say out loud that this is awful. I don't need this. I don't need to moan out loud. I can moan internally and potentially in my little group of friends, but I'm not going to moan to the room because I know that's not helpful because somebody else needs that and that's okay. So then I would put my choice on because it's like that bravery of putting your song on the playlist and that song being judged. But then it comes on and I'm like, right, cool. Bit of Afro beats. This is a bit of me. And then somebody else shouts like, next, turn it over. What is this rubbish? And like, they don't realize how small that makes you feel like, because I already feel so different in the rugby environment anyway. And it's just like this one song I've tried to put on and there's 3 or 4 people trying to shoot down. And I always remember someone said to me once, like I put a song on a playlist and it was probably a bit of Afro beats or reggae or bashment, something along those lines. So not normally played in a rugby gym. And someone shouting next, and I said, no, I want to listen to it. And again, that's then another moment when I'm standing up for myself, like, no, I won't listen to this. I've had enough of your pop music, your chart music. Like I've done that for probably 3 years. I just want to listen to some of this music in a gym that we share. And she said, but Shaunagh, nobody else wants to listen to it. And I said, so I'm still here. I'm still a person. I still count. She said, no, but it's just you. You're the minority. And I said, yeah, so you're telling me like you don't want to cater for the minority because it's always about the majority and we must forget the individual for whatever situation. And she didn't get how almost hurtful that was to say, well, you're the minority, like it doesn't matter. And that kind of moment then was just a reflection of how my life has been, and I am generally the minority for whatever reason, whether it is skin color, hair type, height as a woman, foot size as a woman, and what sports I play, where I go to school, what type of school I went to, my whole education, not going to uni, bits like that. So there's just loads of spaces where I don't fit, and yet I insert myself anyway. But yeah, that moment was a reflection of Shaunagh, like a kick in the face almost. You are the minority, so actually we don't need to cater for you. But then what comes next for me is, well, without swearing, like F that. I need to stand up because I'm at that time, like I was an adult. And so reflecting back that day and like in the next few days, it's like, well, these are the reasons I need to carry on doing my thing. Because if that happens to 11, 12, 13-year-old little girl, she probably is just going to go inside of herself, pretend to be someone she's not, try and fit into whoever is the most popular girl in the team or in the school or whatever it is. And actually that's not helpful, that's not useful, and it's not safe, in fact.
I think those 3 summations are exactly right. It's not helpful, it's not useful, and it's not safe. Like, it's easy to forget, you know, what's instructive about that is the person that made that comment to you didn't see that as being a shocking thing to say out loud. They were just saying, I'm just explaining my point of view that you're the minority, so actually, you should go with the majority. You go, objectively, that's insane that you've said that out loud, but is instructive to what that person is. They're not doing it to be mean. They're being no, this is, but I want this and I'm in the majority and I get what I want, sort of thing. That's interesting in terms of those are the bits you picked out from rugby. And I guess before we get onto rugby and your journey in rugby, which is primarily why we're sat here on Driver Harlequin, there's a long list of other things that you did before you got to rugby career-wise, not just you as an individual, from British gas engineer to Commonwealth Games athlete.
Commercial diver,
that's in there. What order did those come in, and why was it again just your point earlier, I want to do it, so I'm going to do it?
Pretty much, yeah. So a lot of my life, people go, why? And I just say, why not?
Yeah.
So in terms of order, it was British Gas first. So it was when I was 20.
Yeah.
I wanted a proper job, as I would call it, and then wanted an apprenticeship. And I always knew, even in school, I wanted to do apprenticeship.
Yeah.
And my school teachers, who obviously had the best of my interests at heart, they was like, no, you need to go to university. Like, you're intelligent, you've got all your A's, your A stars, and you need to go. And I was adamant I wanted to do an apprenticeship because as much as I was good at learning, theoretically, it's not what I enjoyed. Right. And apparently the way I live my life then was similar to now, is in I do things I enjoy, and if I don't enjoy it, then I'm out of the door. So I wanted to do an apprenticeship, and British Gas was one. I applied for so many. I applied for any big brand I could think of. I was just on the website applying, and even British Gas, I didn't actually know what I applied for. Went to an interview, and in the interview, part of the interview was a task in terms of wiring up a fuse board, but the instructions were there and the tools were there. And so I left and I thought, Mum, I think I've applied to be an electrician for British Gas. So I didn't really know. And then it turns out it was nothing to do with, well, it was electrics in gas engineer, but there was just an instruction. Can you follow instructions here to do it? And it was only like in the first week of my apprentice, I was like, I'm really not quite sure what I'm doing here. I don't really know what's going on. And it turns out I was there to install central heating systems.
Oh, okay.
Which is very, very useful, particularly in this country.
Yeah, there's always going to be a need for that.
Yeah, so I was at British Gas for 5 years, but whilst I was there, I was always doing my athletics. So athletics was in my life since the age of 11, 12. And it was never something that was an option to do full time as a thrower in particular. And so I always had to have a job, and British Gas actually supported me pretty much getting to the Commonwealth Games in 2014. So I put it to them, and again I had someone in my life who told me I'm special in my coach, John Hillier, my athletics coach, and he'd coached me since I was 13, and he would always expect more from me. Like whatever I'd achieve, he'd want more in a good way. And he's just like, well, why don't you ask the British Gas for some support? And so he helped me with that and wrote to the top and just said, can I get some help? This, and this. And it got passed down. And eventually it was a yes. And so, British Gas supported me in going to the Commonwealth Games. And then that was done. I thought,
you've done that.
Cheers for the help. Yeah. Not enjoying it anymore. I'm off to do something else.
And so you thought logical, and there's a lot of central heating engineers listening going, yes, my next career pivot will be into commercial diving.
Obviously.
That's where you go. You've done central heatings, get the diving suit on. So again, was that, what point did that light bulb go off? You're like, maybe some diving next.
So I was at Sports Awards, Medway Sports Awards, and it was at a table, been nominated for Sports Person of the Year. I was at a table with the other nominees, and one guy, he raced motorcycle sidecars. Obviously, the sidecar was attached to the motorcycle, but he was a sidecar person. So
I've got visions of Gromit in Wallace and Gromit, just him just racing just the sidecar.
Yeah, some of the pictures are extreme of how they do it, and they race sidecars. But so he was there for that. But as you do, like, you're chatting around the table, what do you do for a living? And he said, I'm a commercial diver. And he was there with his mate who nominated him. And he said, we're both commercial divers. And so everyone's next question is, what is a commercial diver? And he told me, and I was just like, sat next to my mum. My mum want to do that. And my mum's used to me doing and saying things like that. And she just went, yeah, all right, well, you better make some inquiries then. So got into commercial diving.
Can I ask the question that you asked around that tape? What is that?
So essentially, it's just your method of getting to work, but your work just happens to be underwater.
Right.
So you're still doing labouring jobs underwater. So whether it's inspections around the bridge, if you think of any body of water, there's going to be some engineering in that water. So whether it's a bridge, there's going to be a lot of it in the water. Whether it's a jetty around a factory, there's going to be a lot of it in the water. Even one of my favourite jobs was in Chatham Docks, and they had a big ship coming in, and biggest that had come in a while. And so we just had to move silt, which essentially mud that had built up over years, and just move it from one part of the lock to another. And so I was just down there for hours with this massive industrial, essentially Hoover, and just hoovering mud.
just underwater hoovering mud.
Yeah, for 2 hours. You do 2 hour shifts. And it was just like this. 2 hours. Look at that. 2 hours.
Amazing.
And then because you'd be on comms, you'd have a good laugh because there'd be people talking to you, and Yeah, it was good fun. But
how many years did you do that for?
I think only 2 years in the end, because then firefighting came up.
Yeah, of course. Well, of course, you're underwater, you're hoovering mud, and you think this is great.
Yeah.
I've done the gas engineer, done the hoovering mud stint. Probably going to put out fires next.
Yeah, although there's not many fires to put out in the fire service,
right.
But there's no cats. I've never dealt with
You've
a cat
not done the
because
cat
that question troubles me.
So that's only in Fireman Sam then, basically, is what you're saying. Yeah,
I think so. I think so.
So again, was that? How did you make that?
So it was actually another diver who told me Kent were recruiting.
Oh yeah.
And I did apply for London when I was 17, something like that. Ambitious child I always was. Yeah. Applied at 17. Surprisingly, they said no, need a bit more life experience. So firefighter was always something I wanted to do, even as a youngster. And then this guy said, yeah, Kent are recruiting. And it was for the first time in 10 years. And I thought, oh, go on then, I'll have a look.
Yeah.
And of course applied, and they said something like 5,000 people applied, and it got down to 24 of us, and I was one of the 24.
Wow.
In the end. And it was something I could do alongside diving, because you could fit diving in around anything, and you do get quite a lot of spare time in terms of being a firefighter in your shift pattern. So I did do both for a bit. But then firefighting was a solid salary every month, as opposed to commercial diving, which was self-employed. So you can go a whole month and get nothing, and then you can go.
You got to wait for someone to contact you for their diving needs.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was a tough gig in terms of getting work, and it's just like people always use their friends, or they go back to etc. So the fire service was a good solid state career, and then I could still dive alongside. But then rugby started to sort of take over more and more.
At what point does rugby come into it then? So you're obviously doing all this. There's the Commonwealth Games, the hammer throwing, like diving, firefighting. Like, what point do you get introduced to rugby? You said you didn't go to university. So it's not a university rugby story. Like, was it through one of those jobs?
No, it was a mixture of, so at the athletics track, I did shot put, discus and hammer, and so every summer you'd get all the big rugby boys down who work out now, they're probably forwards, that like they're big boys, go and do shot put for PE, for sports day.
Right, okay.
And so that was my first experience of rugby players, was just they just come down for a few weeks in the summer and take up the circle time and waste my time. I'm like, just slogged out a whole winter out in the snow, out in the rain, and then these big horrible boys come down and waste my time in the summer.
Yeah.
But then actually training with them, getting to know them, they're the ones that sort of just said, oh, I play rugby and I think you'd be good at it.
Yeah.
Because obviously they know the sport, and then they knew me. I didn't think anything of it. So that's the point that I knew it existed, and that was as far as it went. And actually my coach, John, he was a rugby man in that he watched it. He used to play as a youngster, and then he watched it so I always remember everyone else trained Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday.
Yeah.
We had to train Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, because Saturday's rugby day. And so again, another negative experience with rugby.
The rugby boys are taking up your circle time. Then you've got to train on a Sunday because your coach wants to watch the rugby.
Yeah, exactly. So he knew about it, and I would say he wouldn't really talk about it, but again, I just knew it existed because it means I had to train on a Sunday morning. And then I had a bit of a sort of session at sixth form college, because I did I attempted to do A-level PE, didn't quite finish it, and we had a rugby session with 6 boys and me and another girl in our group, and it was called a rugby session. And actually now I look back, it's kind of the stuff we do now anyway. There's no ball involved.
Right.
It was the fighting bits, it was the piggy backs, it was the round wells, like getting around someone's body, it was trying to do the slaps when you're grabbing wrists and flatten someone on the floor, or going for the knees, and sort of the rough and tumble element of rugby. And I was just like, this is fantastic. I get to run at these boys, and the coach is telling me to run harder. I think this is great. So again, that's just in the back of my mind that I tried it, but throughout all of this I was doing athletics, I was doing it to a good level, so I couldn't risk getting injured. There was no point in trying to start rugby while I was competing internationally for athletics. And then it was only once I went to the Commonwealth Games, and 2014, and I came back, had another season at athletics, and I thought, I'm ready to try something else now.
Yeah.
And actually I told myself I would retire from sport and be a normal person and go to work and come home, eat my dinner, go to bed. That lasted 2 weeks, and I was like, right, I try something else. So rugby. Just phoned up emailed my local club Medway, and said, like, can I come down? And they said, yeah, of course you can. We train on a Tuesday, 7:30 till, I think it was like 6 till 7:30, whatever it was, once a week. And I was like, fine, we're there. And the rest is history.
Well, the rest is history, but I'm trying to work out how that doesn't happen to most people that are like in their mid-20s that call their local rugby club and then in the space of a few years they're winning multiple Grand Slams for England and a Premiership title for Harlequins. So what happens next? You've had that experience of rugby, training on Tuesday night, like getting to know that sort of local team. Like how does England come on the scene? It was Aylesford Bulls before Quins. Like how does that? Is it a phone call? Is it someone sees you in a game and goes?
So I went to watch a Six Nations game. It was at the Stoop. The women, England, I want to say versus Wales. Yeah. And it was around my birthday. And so I just went to watch with a couple of friends. And my mum, she was always everywhere I go. And watching them play, and I just thought, Mum, I reckon I could do that. I said, I reckon I could rock on that pitch now and no one would know I ain't got a clue what's going on. Because all you do, and it's what I do now, it's what I live on, and I thrive, which is catch the ball and run. Just run into people, run into 2 or 3, preferably 4 people. Yeah. And that's all, that's my job on a pitch, and I thrive doing it. I was like, I reckon I could do that. And I said, you know what? I'm going to play rugby for England. And it was in that moment I decided I was going to play rugby for England. And again, Mum's used to it. She's like, okay, cool, like make it happen then. Yeah. And so that's when I do my investigations as to like exactly those questions. How does it work? And the first and main thing I found out is that you had to play Premiership. Yeah. And so just looking around at closest Premiership clubs, which was Aylesford Bulls, and it happened to be that season when it was Aylesford Bulls joined up with Harlequins. Yes. Yeah. And so I just got involved with them, sent another email. I've got no shame in just saying, can I come along? I don't wait to be asked. Again, we can go back to the room and the space. I don't wait to be asked to get into the room. I knock and say, can I come in, please? Yeah. And if nobody answers, I'll just come in anyway. Just open the door and be like, sorry, no one answered. I'm coming to play for England now. And turned up at a Quinn/Aylesford training session here at Surrey Sports Park, and nobody said to not come back. And so I kept coming back, and to the point where one of the coaches said, oh, you're back again, are you? I went, well, yeah, nobody's told me not to, so here I am. They're like, well, you're very welcome, because we know you've got talent, but we're just not used to people keep coming, like people from completely nothing, because I know really, even though I had a few months in Medway, I still didn't know a lot about rugby. Yeah. I mean, arguably still don't know a lot, but here we are. And yeah, so just kept coming back, mainly because nobody told me to stop. I love that. No one told me not to. I think that is, in terms of a takeaway from people listening and just talking to you, Shaunagh, that seems like a big part of, one, I want to do it, I enjoy it. Yeah. And I feel like if someone had told you not to, that would have made you even more determined to come back. I'd have been confused, but like, well, why not? Yeah. I'd still turn up and be like,
explain it to me again?
Yeah, I don't understand. Why not? Because even like an analogy I do like to use about like a door in a room, and as much as you knock politely to say, can I come in the room? Nobody answers, so you knock a bit harder. And then actually sometimes people open the door and say, sorry, you can't come in. And you go, excuse me. And then depending on what mood I'm in, I'll either get the screwdriver out or the credit card to get in like nice and niggly, nice and calm and neat. Yeah. And actually some days I just get a big sledgehammer out and smash the door in and walk in. I'm like, oh, sorry, didn't realise I was supposed to be here, but I'm here now, so
you better make space for me. Yeah. So then you just keep turning up at Quinn's training. The coaches are going, does anyone know who she is?
I'm pretty sure that was a conversation. She's quite strong and she can catch, but I don't really know much more about her.
And so you're playing in the back row for Quinn's, and then do the coaches eventually just go, well, she's going to keep coming back anyway, so let's work out what position she actually plays here. How does that, because you're playing as a back row, which as you say is, I'll catch the ball, I'll run at 4 people and good luck stopping me. Yeah. And then there comes a bit more technicality, as I'm sure many props will point out, with scrummaging and playing in the front row. But how does that, again, is that a coach conversation, or are you banging on the door being like, I've done back row now, what are they doing over there?
No, it was pretty much the opposite, actually.
Drags kicking and screaming.
It was emotional blackmail from England, actually. So no, the conversation was when England contracts came out 2019, so I was playing back row for England. I had my first cap for England in the back row, and the talk was always on the table about, we know you play back row, but we'd quite like you to play front row, partly so we can get you on a pitch, partly because it's a bit easier to get in the front row, just in terms of who I was and the physical makeup of the person I was. Yeah. It just made sense to them to put me in the front row. And so I was very reluctant. It was hard work. I can't I can't explain to someone who's not played. It's hard work. It's awful. And I don't know why people choose to do it. But we need those people. And sometimes I do it still. But they said when the contract came out 2019, Shaunagh, we've got a contract for you, but it says a prop. Take it or leave it. So I took it. So it's my own fault, really. I had a choice to say no. But yeah, that's how the change to prop
right? Okay, well, hey, well, it worked. Whether you were a fan of it or not, it worked. But it's interesting, isn't it? At that time, I guess in the women's game, as those contracts are coming out and it's professionalising more, you haven't got that breadth of, you've not got players like in the men's game where there's guys that have been, I don't know, training every day since they were 8 years old to be a prop and have all of that technical knowledge, and actually having the raw ingredients for the women's game now or 3-4 years ago was so important to kind of progress it. Do you look at kind of your role as a trailblazer in terms of where England rugby was when you first started playing to where it is now, in terms of World Cup finals?
I would say trailblazer more in the off-pitch space. So there's obviously a lot of fantastic players playing for England, and I played with them. I was selected to play, so I was obviously good at rugby and still pretty good actually. But actually what I think I'm known for is more my off-pitch. And that I started realising that in a few games I either didn't get picked for just not selected or injured and didn't play. England were playing, I wasn't playing, and yet I'd still get messages, people saying, oh, well played today. I didn't play. But it just made me realise, or even if I was 24th, so I was non-playing reserve, and so I'd be there at the ground, and then I'd just still walk around afterwards to say hello to people, get a few pictures, and they'd say, oh, well played. And I think,
you were here.
You don't care. You don't care whether I played or not. Like, you recognise me for me as a person, not as a rugby player. So actually, yes, the reason that I have a platform to speak and the reason I feel so passionate about social justice is to do with my rugby. But on a day-to-day basis, you don't care if I play rugby or not. So let me maximise on that space. But yeah, it was a realisation that...
That's interesting.
Although I was good enough to play rugby, I was in that environment for 5 years and I was a great athlete. What I am known for is my work off pitch and who I am, what I stand for, and how I encourage others to be one day.
And is that pleasing? Like, in terms of, must be quite surreal when someone's saying well played and you're like, you were literally at the game and I wasn't playing, so thank you, but that's mad.
Yeah.
But that realisation that actually your impact is so much greater, to go back to right to the start of the conversation, because you are special, because you are you and you are individual, that you're able to have a much bigger impact than just being one of the crowd.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's that feeling, if we talk about like greatest achievements, I'm sure if you spoke to most rugby players or athletes or people within sport, they're probably going to give you a sporting achievement. They might give you a family achievement, but mine is always more other people in terms of, like, there's this one particular little girl, Lucy, she writes to me. She writes letters to me and tells me about sort of the struggles she's having when she's playing with the boys, and then the split with boys and girls and separating, and how she's getting on at school. And like, to think a kid that, I mean, I've met her because she's been to a couple of games, but I don't really know much about her, but she's taken the time to tell me that I've inspired her to do X. And the amount of messages I get on social media, essentially people just thanking me for being me. And because so my coaching stuff as well, because I coach on a Sunday and people see that. There was one mum in particular, she messaged me and she just said, I'm now coaching. Like, she said, I didn't even think about it before, but I saw your coaching and now I'm coaching as a direct result of seeing you do it. And another one went to a club's end of season awards and just saying to people, some people say, oh, I say, do you play? Because no matter what age, what you look like, I'll always ask if I'm at rugby awards, do you play? Yeah. And they put themselves down. They're like, no, I'm too old for that. And I go, what is too old? And so I'll always challenge that. And actually somebody then a few months later messaged me to say, Shaunagh, I'm 49, I've just played my first ever rugby game. And it's entirely because of our conversation in the summer. And it's just like, that is more pleasing for me than any title, any World Cup, any Grand Slam, any medal.
Yeah.
because like, changing human lives is special in itself.
That's very, very insightful and, I don't know, impressive. I mean, don't mind me saying, like, to speak to someone with that fire inside them for changing human lives, as you put it, as well as being, by the way, an incredible athlete who does win things and all those sorts of accolades as well. I'm conscious that there might not be time for this in your life outside of your many careers, sporting prowess, inspiring others, activism. Do you have any like hobbies or passions outside of life, sport, work? Like, what are your extravagances? What are you spending your money on?
I love adventure. In a word, adventure. So
what a surprise!
At home at the moment, me and the hubby, we've got a couple of Triumph Tigers. They're bikes for those who don't know, but they're not just bikes. They're proper mountain explorer bike, the big thick ones you see on the road, and you see them, you're like, they're going away for a few weeks holiday with all the
like the one like Ewan McGregor, Charlie Boorman doing the long way down.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, okay, that's a niche probably a reference that your man doing a boat race listening to this is going, oh, I know that. I've shown my hand.
Yeah, I've shown that I didn't grow up in rugby. And
I think it was a Channel 4. Anyway, let's move on from that.
But they're adventure. They're literally called adventure bikes.
Right. Okay.
They'll go anywhere in the world and explore. But we've also got a camper van as well that built from scratch.
Built from scratch?
Yeah. And I say he.
Right.
I
thought you were about to take credit for that.
No,
you said we. It was
completely the other way around. I just say yes and no to things, and that's my bit of it. And he designs it and chooses everything. I go, that's nice. And he loves, that's my input, and he's quite happy with that. He won't say that, but I know he's happy with that.
It works, yeah.
Just trying to go away as much as possible. Like, you don't get a lot of weekends when you're a professional rugby player, so just maximising on weekends and a few sort of hotels here and there, and maybe the camper van if it's warm enough, because I don't do cold.
Right, okay.
And even camping, I don't like camping because even in the summer it's either too cold or too hot.
Yeah,
so
you can't
don't do camping
right.
in tents, but I do camper vans or glamping. If
fine.
There's an actual bed and duvet, and I don't get on well with sleeping bags.
So what was the last trip you went on?
Well, last trip was a day trip to Cheddar Gorge.
Nice.
Did some filming on the bikes. And then previous to that, the camper van trip was my Hindu, and that was down near Bristol actually. And again, so my Hindu, we took camper vans. I've got a camper van, so that was half of it. And then the girls rented a camper van as well, so we went in the camper vans and had a tour of the Thatcher's cider factory. And as much as I said I'm not a big drinker, I just like a cider here and there.
Right, okay.
And so we got big special treatment down there, and it was the best weekend. No bars, no clubs, no raves, no loud music, no drunken activity.
Just some cider, watch The Greatest Showman, put your slippers on.
No Greatest Showman, no TV because we was in the vans. And just, simple bucket hats and hoodies.
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it was.
And are those sort of things that you do typically, obviously not the hen do, but like with your husband, or is it individual or with friends, or like how do you try and...
No, it'll be with Benji. And he, when we first met, I think it was all a bit of a whirlwind for him of how much I do. And I forget how much I do because it's my life. And then he just literally... Will you have a day off? And he says, like, can we have a day off together? Because I say, you don't always have to come. You can stay at home if you want. He's like, no, boy, I want to stay at home with you. And so I tell him, you book it in the diary. If you put it in the diary, like, we're doing nothing this day, then I have to stick to the diary. He's like, I shouldn't have to put it in the diary. And I said, well, sucks to be you, because that's how the system works. If you want us to have a day off, book it in. If not, I'm probably going to find something to do.
Wow, so even relaxing has to be timetabled in.
Of course. Yeah. Of course. There'll be something else to do if not.
You don't have 24 different careers and win up umpteen medals if you're relaxing all the time, right?
Yeah, exactly. and he's in the army, so he spends a lot of time away. And he just recently, so we got married and we got home on the Friday, got married in St. Lucia because that's where he's from.
Amazing.
Got home on a Friday. On the Monday, he was gone. He was off to Belize for 3 months.
Wow.
As a deployment. And it was when he's over there, he's like, on board. I went, oh, oh, want that diary back in your life? Because then I'd tell him, like, I'm going here, I'm going there, got to stay the night over here. And he's just like, oh, but I'm just sitting here.
I want to do some things.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, oh, have those days off that you wanted booked in. So yeah, he has had a very big change of lifestyle since meeting me.
But I guess that answers my question in terms of what your like extravagances are. Like, it's adventure. That's what you're kind of spending your time and then money.
Yeah, I spend a lot of money on diesel, so whether it's the car, or petrol in the bikes.
Right. Okay.
We spend a lot of money on fuel and food.
I mean,
no, I know, and I like good food. Like, I like eating.
Right. Okay. So you're not one of those people that like food is fuel. You want to enjoy.
I mean, it is fuel, and I accept that, but I need to enjoy my fuel.
Okay. Yeah.
If I was a car, I'd need the premium diesel, the expensive stuff.
Okay, fine.
And not the normal. But I mean, I put the normal in my car. I've not got that much.
Yeah, that's
money.
not actually for fuel. No one's actually. Is anyone filling up from the premium fuel?
I've heard that there's a few people out there.
Come on, have a look at yourselves.
Food and fuel and hotels is pretty much what I spend my money on.
That's a pretty good way to live, I think. So look, we've covered an awful lot of ground, not nearly as much ground as you've covered in your life, career, activism and other work. But as we draw this kind of podcast to a close, a couple of final questions. One would be, in your own words, and it may be something you've already mentioned, but like, what do you think the biggest hurdle or obstacle you've overcome is to be sat opposite me today?
Society's general perception of someone who looks and sounds like me, what I'm capable of and what I achieve. So even I spend a lot of my time in tracksuits and hoodies and generally don't do my hair or whatever. And so I arrive somewhere and I just look like a hoodie and that kind of person that you think of when you think of an Asbo or a Yob, or probably not great at home, or dad's not around, or whatever it is. And actually it's just me still. And I'm just trying to conquer the world, whether I'm in a tracksuit or a smart outfit. Like, I'm still that same person. So I guess, the main piece that I overcome to achieve is perception of the type of person I'm supposed to be compared to the type of person who I am. And
I guess how you do that, which you do incredibly well, as is evidenced by what you've achieved already, but the way you talk about it so eloquently too, is that you understand that you're battling against that. Do you know what I mean? It's not like you're raining against something you're not sure what the problem is. You're like, well, I know what it is, so you can consciously do something about it.
Yeah. And also, like, find a way to let other people know that you're not helping in the situation because of this, because of the way you worded that sentence, that maybe a few years ago would have affected me. And it doesn't now, but what about the next youngster that comes through? Yeah. Or you can help as well by calling other people out. And it's just getting other people on board and understanding that we're not all the same. Like, let's not pretend we're all the same, because that's not helpful. Like, acknowledge people are different and treat them differently. Like, the world is not about treating people equally. It's about treating people how they need to be treated, and treating people differently is completely the right thing to do, because we already do. We talk to our 5-year-old differently to how we talk to a 25-year-old, differently to how you talk to your mum. You have your telephone voice. Like, we already treat people differently. Just acknowledge that you're doing that and do it in the wider context as well.
Excellent. Very, very well put. And then final question, and I'm conscious you've already retired once and then come back to rugby, so maybe you've got a different perspective to this. But we like to kind of sum up these podcasts with, I guess, this thought of when that time comes that you do eventually call time on your rugby career again, and you look back over your career, and this is specifically in rugby, like, what do you want to look back on as your proudest memory?
Changing other people's lives. It's the messages I get, it's the letters that I get, it's the cute little presents I get sent at Christmas. I get Christmas cards. Somebody made customized earrings for me the other day for coming back and from retirement, and it was the first time she'd seen me play in a while, so she made some earrings for me. So it's those memories, and not only messages from the young person themselves or the people that is affected, but from their parents as well, and saying thank you for being the person you are, because I've seen my daughter change the person she is because of who she sees on social media, who you represent. So yeah, it's certainly biggest achievement is the effect I have on other people's lives.
Beautifully, beautifully put. Shaunagh, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for coming on the Diary of a Harlequin.
Thank you for having me.